Hello, good morning all. Please, sorry for the little delay. We are about to start.
Mr. Sunday, kindly note that your mic is muted. Kindly unmute your mic so that we will be able to hear you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Good morning. We are having a little inch of technical challenge here, so please, we are trying to sort it out. Please. This is what I'm trying to see. Okay. Let us start. Yes, come next. I need to cooperate. If I start it. The customer is
Mr. Sunday, may we, whilst we are waiting for the challenge on your side to be resolved, just allow us to reflect on the purpose of this Indaba, this conference, this festival in this week. If it's permissible, so that then everyone who is on board will, and some who are new on the platform today, even have a better sense and a better feel of what we are on this platform about today, if that is permissible. May we take this opportunity to firstly thank everyone who is on the platform, be it on the Zoom platform, on the YouTube platform, as we continue with this special program, a very unique and a phenomenal program that we are sharing as South Africa in partnership with Nigeria and the international partners who are part of the Left In and other associates for the purpose of making sure that the left-handers plight, the left-handers position, the left-handers opportunities are highly reflected, and they take the center stage even globally. So this International Left-Handers Week is a Pan-African partnership initiative between the African Left-Handers Foundation and the Handicapped Ability Empowerment Initiative. The African Left-Handers Foundation based in South Africa and the Handicapped Ability Empowerment Initiative based in Nigeria, but working hand in glove with all the international partners that we are having on this platform. I see that Mr. Sunday seems to be ready, and when he already said kindly just you, we were just orientating everyone on the platform what we are about, because this program started on the 7th of this very month, the beginning of the week on the 7th, for the 2 days, 7th and 8th, the program was in South
Okay, good morning all. Thank you for that introduction.
As a base at 9th, and in South Africa is so not only just from South Africa, Happy Women's Day. And as we continue with the program now from Nigeria today, we are going to go back to Ndate Sunday to lead the program from here. Thank you so much, Ndate Sunday.
Oh, thank you, thank you. That's a good introduction. Once again, recognition, distinguished invitees and delegates. On behalf of Handicap Ability Empowerment Initiative, I am pleased to welcome you as participants, guests, and well-wishers to the second phase of this occasion that marks the inaugural International Left-Handers Conference and Festival. Your presence is a source of inspiration. It's a source of inspiration and encouragement to us. I would like to appreciate all participants in the day 1 and 2, especially members of the Left In, the speakers from different countries, the left-handers, parents of left-handers, the manufacturers of left-handers tools and teachers, even the right-handers that have been watching us through our virtual link globally. I say thank you all. My deep appreciation goes to the African Left-Handers Foundation, who is our co-host. Handicap Ability Empowerment Initiative, HAE, is a non-governmental organization, non-religious, non-profit oriented, established and registered in the year 2011 with the Nigerian Corporate Affairs Commission for persons living with disability and special needs. He started in a very humble beginning to build the persons living with disability from the prison of disability. He is the left-handers initiative in Nigeria, having seen the myriad of challenges being faced by left-handers community, which ranges from simple tools and equipment, handwriting, classroom setting, cultural bias, social stigma, cultural practice, language and idioms, both local and international language, medical interventions, to mention but a few. The Federal Republic of Nigeria, as we all know, is a large country with a large population. From my investigation, some individuals has attempted to form Nigeria Association of Left-Handers, but it did not survive. Our aim is to make Nigerian Left-Handers Initiative a continental and international member country by initiating International Left-Handers Conference and Festival. Because all these years, Left-Handers Association and organization have remained at national and continental level. Today, we all are gathered to witness a great and epoch-making event in the honor of Left-Handers Association. Hey, as Nigerian Left-Hander Association initiative, is ready and willing to extend each program from crossover states to other states in Nigeria, and also ready to continue to collaborate with African Left-Handers Foundation for African Left-Handers Movement. Hey, it is our hope that Hey Handicap Ability Empowerment Initiative Nigeria will become a channel through which manufacturer of left-handers tools and equipment for left-handers to send their tools to Africa for use in teaching and learning for our children in primary and post-primary school. Hey Nigeria, it hopes to have access from international funding agencies and philanthropies, organizations to implement this aspect of the project. Once again, I welcome all to have a fruitful learning and deliberation in this conference. Thank you, Onyenuwe Sunday, CEO Handicap Ability Empowerment Initiative. So that is our welcome message. We want to quickly go to We want to quickly go to introduction of delegates. Please, we'll continue while the technicals are trying to put things in place. The program director. No, I cannot. Because for now, the video cannot capture them, so please permit me to proceed with the introduction. I want to yeah. So for the today program, the three, we're expecting speakers. For here we have Dr. Ernest Ochan, Public Health Officer, UNCHR. We have Steve Marquette, Australia chairperson left in. We have the members of the African Left-Handers Association. Then we have the members of HAE. Queen Onwekwe is here, the Child Protection Officer. Tawo Inde, M&E Officer Consultant. Isa Musa Kefi, Director of Communication. Then we have with me here Dr. David Osakpa. We have Dr. Faluku Yebuki, which is the director of the School Federal Science College of Goja. We have Mr. Ifekere Ubi, the Vice Principal, VP, Vice Principal Academics. We have Mr. Ona SC, Vice Principal Admin. We have Mr. Obete FE, Vice Principal, Special Duty. Then we have I have here the two twins that will be speaking to us, the two identical twins, Elizabeth and Miss Elizabeth and Victoria. They are identical twins, but one is left-handed, while the other one is right-handed person. So as we go on, I'll be informing us on any new participant that will be joining us. So thank you.
You're muted, say we can't hear you.
I want to invite the first speaker for today, a member of the African Left-Hander Foundation, Dr. Magolele Mobi. Please, sorry, permit me the way I pronounce the name. Please, because time is already against us. Please, can we hear from you? Give me that table I show you. Yes,
Internationl, you are mute.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Bipen. Good day.
Good day to you too.
Thank
you.
Nice to see so many people.
Thank you.
I don't see Mark yet. Suleiman.
And for all the delegates, full of the time that we have that is limited.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear me now?
I can. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see me because the host has disabled my camera, but I will continue.
Continue. Thank you.
In the interest of time. Firstly, we are thankful and we appreciate that today we are able to continue with the program that has already been highlighted and outlined by the program director, facilitator of the day. And as the African Left-Handers Foundation, with the base in South Africa, we would like to just highlight a few things as a message of support on this program. Firstly, we are also a registered organization focusing on advocacy and empowerment as a group of those who are left-handed and those who also are supporters, be they being right-handed or ambidextrous or any other handedness. And the purpose of our foundation is to raise awareness on the challenges and the prejudices faced by left-handed persons and communities, and working towards transformation, even making sure that we facilitate for the availability of products and tools that those who are left-handed would be able to have. And not only focusing in South Africa, but in the continent as a whole. We have 5 sectors, 4 objectives and 3 strategies. I will not go to in the interest of time, but in summative way, I will say we invest our focus endeavors towards creating an inclusive, open and supportive environment for all people, irrespective of their handedness, competencies, but with a special impetus and focus of creating an enabling environment and a conducive environment of operation for left-handed persons and communities in our society as large, and of course, locally, where we operate, and globally, we tackle handedness as a human rights issue, where the rights of a person to use their handedness and the ability to be able to operate with their handedness, specifically being left-handed, is acknowledged and respected, and that it is also seen as a fundamental human right. And we know that for us to achieve this ideal is to collaborate with other local, regional, continental, and international government structures, business across the globe for making sure that we have proactive and lasting solutions and for sustainability of the work of those who are left-handed. And we are definitely about networking, and that's why even yesterday we were able to adopt a charter that speaks to left-handedness and how we need to deal with all matters for the left-handed people. I also want to highlight briefly that today in South Africa is the National Women's Day, and I want to say Watinda Bafazi, Watinda Bogoto, as it would be shared as a slogan in South Africa. You strike a woman, you strike a rock. And we are saying that for every woman now, even taking it globally, that who are on this platform, we really want to enhance the work of the women, because these babies, before they become children who are grown ups to be adults, they come from the womb of a mother, who is the first point of contact to make sure that when a child is left-handed, regardless of what the world deals them with or dishes out to them and how they're handled by the world, that they are empowered and strengthened by a mother whom they are birthed through. And we just want to also appreciate that plight of women of the world, and that's why at this point, mindful of the fact that we are having queens, we are having princesses, we have women in respective positions of leadership on this platform, and even more especially today, we even are greatly favored to be on this platform with one of the astute women whom I'm going to ask, Princess Debbie Dineo Raputi, who's the president of the World Women Leading Change in Africa, to introduce to us, because we have Dr. Aya Dewi Alju-Frie, I believe I pronounced it properly, who's the president of the World Women Leading Change, who is also on the platform with us, who will also be sharing a message of support. May I, through you, facilitator for the day, Sunday, request that Dr. Ayla be introduced by Princess Debbie Dineo Raputi, to also be anchoring on the power of change that is even brought through the women and through the mothers who are taking care of the left-handed, who are raising the left-handed, of course, with the fathers and with the families, even who are right-handed, for the good and for the benefit of the nations of the world. Yesterday, we were saying left-handed, 10-15%, but we are still the minority.
Yes.
Of the majority.
I think we lost you. Yeah.
Yes,
Can I request everyone to add the name of their country to after their name?
Thank you very much for this opportunity in South Africa.
Everybody, please take some efforts to add your country name after your name. You can just go there and say rename. It's very important and very useful. Everybody, like I have added India.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sunday.
Thank you.
If you would permit Princess Dineo to introduce Dr. Ayla.
Okay, thank you so much for that presentation. Thank you for emphasizing the need of collaboration and sustainability development. I think that is one of the reasons why we are coming together to see how we can amplify our effort, our advocacy and awareness program. And know that this is an opportunity for us to cross fertile ideas and share initiative. So thank you also for the charter that you have made the general public to know that we have signed a charter for left-handers. And the South African National Day, we are happy to hear that today is a National Women's Day in South Africa. Thank you. At least for you to let them know that when you strike a woman, because from your presentation, it is true that women are the first contact, which is the woman who noticed that, oh, this child is beginning to prefer the left-handers than the right. That is one of the way we started, because you see, when women come to clinic, at the tender, they will tell you that the child is only trying to carry the breast during breastfeeding with only the left, since the hand is sick. So that is a good point. And I want to appreciate you for that presentation. And I believe that after this conference, there will be more collaboration and we'll extend this movement. So thank you so much. We want to listen to comment and questions or contribution concerning the presentation of Dr. Mabo.
Mr. Sunday, because we are behind time, I'm requesting that we allow Dr. Debbie Raputi to introduce the next speaker, because they are limited for time. They're not with us for the whole day. So if we can roll on to ask Princess Debbie Raputi to introduce the next speaker, and then we can then deal with the questions later. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Princess Raputi, over to you.
Yes, I'm trying to put my camera on. I think there is a challenge. However, I just wanted to say to everyone who is here, the delegates of the left-handers and the advocates, you are the advocates of the left-handers. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. My name is Debbie Raputi. I'm from the organization that calls World Women Leading Change here in Africa. However, I did speak on the 7th when it was your opening. I gave the message of support, and in our midst, we've got other delegates from the World Women Leading Change. From Botswana, I saw our President Victoria Tsela Yakhosi. I saw even our Deputy President here in South Africa, President Olivier from Cape Town. And because you know that today is the big day whereby here in South Africa we are celebrating Women's Day. However, I have invited one of our global leader, a very dynamic woman, a businesswoman, a social activist, our leader, our president, the Queen Professor Ayla Al-Jufri from Indonesia, a woman with a big heart, a woman who is a strategist, a woman who is a visionary, young as she is, a woman with a big heart. I mean, she even, a person really bringing you in her house, in her home, to come and sleep with her family. You must know that woman actually, she believes in you. Thank you so much, President Ayla. And I believe that probably you are going to take this initiative of the left-handers forward, because I know there in Jakarta, I know there in Bali, you are an advocate of economic development, of those who don't have even the business sector, the NGOs, and I know you will be able to make it, as you call ourselves World Women Leading Change. President Ayla also, she is the president of the real estate, and seeing that we are actually celebrating Women's Day, you know, the womb of a woman is the first real estate of a human being. So that is the reason that she is actually advocating for issues of women. The real estate essay, as I say, is the first womb where the child is being catered, where the child is being kept during a pregnancy. I really want to say Happy Women's Day even to you, President Ayla, because you've got your roots here also in South Africa, as we are celebrating those women who actually wanted to see women being emancipated, women being freed from any subjugation. We really want to thank you, and I'm presenting our global president, Queen Professor President Ayla Al-Julfri. Speak to the organization of the left-handers. I thank you.
Thank you, Her Royal Highness, Princess Debbie Dineo Raputi, our global candidate of president, and our WWLC Africa. Very sorry, maybe you will hear a lot of noise because I'm in the Real Estate Association Musyawara Nasional. My name is Ayla Al-Jufri. I lead company called Ayla Associate. It's a boutique consultant. And also I lead Salakanagara Tirta Awang Saat Maja tribe. First of all, I would like to say thank you for Left-Handed Association. And I want to congratulate. Today is a very important day for the whole Africa women, because today a lot of women march along and change society. Now, World Women Leading Change is an organization that I founded with 40 other amazing women. Today we are in 120 countries with over 12 million membership. We have our inclusiveness. Actually, the first year of World Women Leading Change is the inclusiveness of disabled leading change, which is different abilities leading the change. I believe that each one of us is worth it to be given all the chances, similarity of chances to reach the maximum level of their lives. And we emphasize and we honor your organization, and we would like to support the organization that each one of this called disabled, different abilities. Each human being have different abilities. And we, as the first real estate of humankind, will take the role of leading those changes to create impact, to create social entrepreneurship, because none of this, including your body, is belong to you. Your life is very, very short, and you need to have impact. And Defable leading change, our inclusiveness, is actually emphasizes that all this include the left-handed association. Perhaps we could make inter-organization that support the different abilities of humankind. Today is the march of all women in Africa and all women in Asia, women in Europe, women in Pacific, women in Gulf. Our last, the fifth center should drive. The woman is so important because your education is started from your mother. You carry 9 months of the education and all the music and all the things she does when you are inside of your mother's womb. Now, this is the most important thing of all essence, is how we, World Women Leading Change, leading your organization, duplicate it all across the globe. But the most important thing is how we print the impact of society, how we print and we bring the new Nelson Mandela.
Or the next Elon Musk.
Yes. So even Thomas Alva Edison, he was deaf. Yes. Today we are alive and take electricity because Thomas Alva Edison's mother decided to help him to reach their maximum potential. And this is important, that each one of a child have the impactful. In fact, you have a home. You always have a home. And you always can reach the star because it's possible. I thank you for everyone, also for having me in this session. I also send all the love for my president in South Africa, President Olive, and President Keletso. Perhaps she could also speak because she's leading one of our important inclusiveness, which is kids leading change. Yes. So the left-handed, it should be, we have to have an awareness, the left-handed from child, that perhaps she could speak a little. And love and light from Jakarta, Indonesia. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Princess Professor Alai Dewi. Thank you for, we want to appreciate you for your passion for change. Because if we want to change society, we need to change the people's mind, and that is what you are encouraging us to do. We have to change people's mind, people's perception about variations and difference in human race. You know, so we want to thank you because change brings, changing of people's mind and perception brings positive change in the society. And I also want to appreciate you for your acceptance to support Left-Handers Association. Thank you so much. We love you. And there is no doubt, women, they are very important because that is the truth. That is where education starts. That is everything about life starts. Whatever we are today started from our mother, so we must give that that respect to women. So thank you so much, and thank you for the good work we are doing. We believe that with your speech today, we encourage and we hope that we'll continue to work together and be hearing from you. Anytime we want to gather like this, we reach out to you. Thank you, Princess Professor Alan. So I want to bring the identical twins according to Elizabeth and Victoria, that we are both as part of our
I think we have lost you, Anvayo. And I again request all of you, please
so
add
that you
the
can
name of your country after your name. Mr. Zuki, Mr. Kelesto, Mr. Princess, and Segamotso. Of course, we know you, but still it's better to add the name of your country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
My name
Vivian,
is
for the
Julian.
reminder. Thank you.
Attend my
We can hear you. Please speak.
I'm from Cross River State. I'm 14 years old. I attend Matthias.
You can switch your camera and keep only audio so that the internet is okay.
Secondary school. Okay, because they discriminate me that I am a left-hander, and they are always that I am a left-hander. Even at home, they always discriminate me.
Sorry to interrupt, but internet has issues. So only keep audio.
It is
close your
of
video.
Hello. So BP, thank you. I can hear your voice. I was trying to bring out the. I was trying to give out to the children and talk.
Okay.
Yes, I got you. Please continue.
Can't stop me from being. Okay. So I am a left-handed person, and it does not disturb me from being a left-hander, and I am always very good at school and at home. I do things well. My classmates always discriminate me that I am a left-hander and have positions in school. They always take me out for competitions and more things. So I am here today to tell you that we need some equipment of left handers, and I can't use a scissors because it is made from the right hand side. So I want you all to bring an equipment of left-handed people. So I am very happy today being here today, and this program hosted by Handicap Ability who bring out this program today. So I am very happy here, and in African countries also, to stop the discrimination of left-handed. I am very happy today for this program.
Okay, that is Elizabeth, because I read in theory that I read in theory about identical. So when I met them, these twins, in my advocacy in schools and awareness of our program, I met them. They were so identical that the only difference between these children is their hand use. And I was asking the parents, how do you people identify two of them? Until they told me a way of identifying them. And from experience, I noticed that the hand you use is a little bit bigger because of pressure. So when I use a tape measure to look at their hands, I just discovered that there is a little difference in their hands, in the size of their hand, the muscle. So that is the only way you see these children that you can identify them. The right-handed one, when I use my hand and tape measure to size it, I notice that it's a bit. She used to come and complain to me, especially in certain drawing, the difficulties that she faced in the school. I told her that she should not worry. With time, things will change, and we are trying also to see how we can make left-handers tools available for them. So thank you for listening to Elisa. I'm listening to look at that. Let me use it and look at it. We didn't on the light. Listen to these children. Okay, go ahead. I don't know whether you have any question or comment concerning the two.
No, Mr. Sunday, I wanted to request that at some point for capturing purposes, because it was a challenge to have the twins being visible. When you are in a more stable way, let their faces be visible on the camera, so that then they will be acknowledged as such. But we just wanted to indicate that as we are co-hosting, when you might have a challenge, just allow that we be able to help with the flow as you will cue us. Thank you so much. But one thing that I wanted to say was that President Dr. Ayla had said that if at all there might be a minute or two at some point, she is recommending that the Medineo, our Cityneo, be able to give an input, but from sorry, not Medineo, Mezuki to give an input. let it be permitted. If it's, we may proceed, Mr. Sunday.
Yes, permitted. Permission granted. Is she ready now?
Make it Miss Skeleto. Sorry, I said Zuki. I meant to say Miss Skeleto. Miss Skeleto,
Okay.
you are granted permission to share a little bit from what Dr. Ayla had said. You would be able to just share a little bit around the kids issue and left-handedness. You are given permission through Mr. Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's truly an honor to be a part of this this discussion today, and I commend the organizers for having, taken initiative to educate and raise awareness about, left-handedness, and also how to identify it in early childhood stage. And it's quite an interesting topic, and I personally am learning quite a lot as the discussions have been ongoing. And I also want to just thank Dr. Ayla for suggesting that I say something from the standpoint of being the president of the Kids Leading Change program. In the first presentation, one of the first videos that was played about how, stewardship is quite important, and how we should all have like a moral obligation, to just push boundaries and possibilities for left-handed people, and, for disabled people. I just don't understand how left-handedness even became identified as a disability or even associated as such, because in my understanding, and just from learning everything about, what's been said of how, of course, the world seems to be quite biased, predominantly biased, towards right-handedness. And now we're discovering that, left-handed people are now, from early childhood being made to, eat the way right-handed people should, or because of, stable, or should I say, globally recognized eating etiquette, how table manners is supposed to be should I say executed, and just learning how to write. It's like it's just a thing that we do to say to people, or to say to kids when they're learning how to write, to use their right hand. And yet we don't quite have this embedded in the education structures, that there is this possibility and a need to be able to identify the preferences of a human being right from early stage development, and incorporate and include the possibilities of being left-handed and being right-handed equally. So, I'm learning quite a lot, and I'm appreciating the content. And I personally will also become a good steward of this knowledge, and, teach others about it, even the kids on the show. When we facilitate it, to understand that it's not something that should be, should I say, stigmatized or, looked down upon, but rather, appreciated. And in my opinion, I think, left-handers actually have a competitive edge against right-handers, because they're unpredictable and so powerful. So, from what I'm learning, I'm very grateful. And like I said, let's keep, encouraging this mindset change. I'm going to do it in my own capacity and in my areas of influence. And I appreciate this program very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms.
President
We'll take you back
Victoria
to
from
Mr.
Botswana.
Sunday.
You didn't tell them that you are from Botswana.
Yes, we have seen it from his registration that she's from Botswana. So, Ms. Keletos, Victoria, we want to appreciate.
Thank you. Going to collaborate, and then in your own capacity and also as World Women Leading Change.
So from here, from Nigeria, I also want to thank Ms. Kaletus Victoria for appreciating what we are doing and for appreciating what we are doing, because in Africa, it's a global recognition that you must eat with your right hand. And over here, you see some children, they inflict pain, some are denied their meal before going to school because of what? Persistent of using their left hand. So we want to also thank you, and we are seeking for education restructuring for inclusion of left-handers. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. I think I'm seeing a hand up, Dr. Olive from Cape Town. Please, can we hear your question or contribution?
Thank you and good morning, good afternoon to everybody. I'm Olive. I'm the Deputy President for WWLC, and I'm very happy to be on the platform today. I just want to greet, since I'm off to another engagement, I'm hosting some senior ladies or senior citizens at a mall. So it's a bit noisy where I am, but thank you for the opportunity to be part and parcel of this morning. And I must say, my better half husband is left-handed and he is just an amazing person. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks and bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that experience with us. You know, over here is a challenge. At times, that is the gender inequality in left-handers, because over here it's a taboo for a woman to be left-hander because they are considering when they get married, how will he be giving things to his husband with left or to his in-laws. You know, in Africa, you get married, you want to give things to your husband with left, but it's more as acceptable with a man being left-handed. You know, a woman can accommodate that. But over here, they look at it as an insult. How can a woman be giving something? So you see it in marriage. Even I want to quickly share an experience, because a lady was saying that he preferred to put his wedding ring on the right hand side. After all, the ring finger is a ring finger because in domestic work at home, oftentimes he put his hand while cooking and all that, dipping his hand inside water and hot object, that she preferred putting a wedding ring on her right hand, which is non-dominant hand. So those are issues that we want to look at and also educate a society whereby your husband or your wife is a left-hander and your husband is a right-hander. And we are looking in future that anytime we see couples coming together and both of them are left-handed, we can also say, okay, we have a little appreciation coming from the organization whereby seeing two couples, left-handers coming together to marry. I think it's a wonderful thing. We look forward to a day of people left-handers getting married to a left-hander. So thank you so much for that, for sharing your experience, your family experience with us.
Dr. Sunday, may if it's possible, may we be able to then take the next presentation, mindful of the time. instead of what you had suggested earlier on, that there be inputs from the delegates or questions from the delegates at this time, I believe that will also assist us in the time that we have at this point.
Steve is ready. Is Steve ready? If Steve is not ready, then we can invite Dr. Ernest Ochan.
All good. Ready
Hello,
to go.
Steve.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, good.
Excellent, excellent. Is it possible to share screens, please?
Yes, possible, yes.
Where am I? There it is. There we go. All right, you can see that screen now?
Yeah, the screen is visible.
Lovely, thank you. Excellent. Thank you, everyone. My name is Steve McGuirk from Australia. I run a business retailing online of products for left-handers, but also providing support, and also one of the founding members of Left-In. Most importantly, though, I'm left-handed. I live in Australia, and I am one of the very fortunate people who's left-handed, who is able to adapt to the right-handed obstacles in life. However, I would estimate that around half of all left-handers cannot readily adapt. So that is a lot of people. We discussed earlier this week that there are two worlds in left-handedness. And I'm really learning a lot this week. One world stigmatizes, corrects, and changes the left-handed person as the left hand is taboo or evil. This has strong cultural and religious backgrounds and affects around 2/3 of the world's population. I've only really discovered this world in the last 12 months or so as part of Left-In, our global special interest group, working to improve the education of left-handed children. The other world has accepted left-handedness as normal and as tolerated, but not really supporting to any level that is needed. I'm fortunate to belong to that world, so I'll present my findings from my experiences and from my knowledge. What do we mean by a right-handed world? We discussed yesterday that over 85% of the population is right-handed. Left-handedness is clearly a minority, and as with most minorities, there is less focus or emphasis on their needs. So manufacturers and designers work to satisfy the majority of the market, and they gear their manufacturing for greatest efficiencies. Therefore, everything comes out right-handed. With this also comes a number of false assumptions. The worst one for us is that left-handers, or all left-handers, can easily adapt to the right-handed way or the tools. Just do it. Just deal with it. We talked yesterday about familial links in handedness. My father is left-handed, I'm left-handed, my youngest daughter is left-handed, and it looks like my middle grandson is also going to be left-handed. Dad's a retired and successful architect, but when my grandmother took him to kindergarten on his first day, they sat down with the principal, and my grandmother told the principal that he was left-handed. Surprisingly to me, her response was, "Don't worry, we'll look after him." And that was that. There was not another mention or problem afterwards. Now, this was in the 1940s, a very unusual response for that time in the Australian education system, especially for church-based schools. This was an era when left-handed children were switched and quite brutally reinforced. My dad is a highly adaptable left-hander and has always been able to work things out by himself. I gave him that pair of scissors and garden secateurs 20 years ago when we started the business, and he instantly used them and still uses those exact same items. My journey of handedness discovery is fairly typical. I was the only left-hander. I have 3 right-handed brothers. There were no left-handed tools or utensils when I was growing up. As Dad did, I just had to deal with it. The first left-handed shop in Australia opened when I was a teenager. We didn't even bother to go in there because I had no need. I had adapted to my handedness. I would later find out that what I had missed out on though. Moving forward to year 5, or about 10 years old, here's a photo of me with my first memorable conflict of left versus right. Mum and Dad gave me a guitar as a gift for my birthday. I went and took professional lessons. I still remember my teacher. But after about a month of lessons, he felt that knowing that I was left-handed, he felt that I would be better with a left-handed guitar. As you can see, that one there is right-handed. So he loaned me a left-handed guitar and I did a full lesson with that technique. I then went home for the week and practiced and came back for the second lesson. But I failed miserably. I was a right-handed guitar player. This was the first time that I realized that I could perform two-handed tasks as a right-hander, but one-handed tasks as a left-hander, and it made a difference. Move on to year 6. The next year, we were starting to write with fountain pens and ink. Of course, there was smudging, and I moved over to the inverted hook position that you see there in the bottom right of the picture. However, because of that, I was continually in trouble because I was unable to keep to exactly the same 12.5 degrees slope for the angles of the letters. We had slope cards that sat underneath the page to ensure that we were writing at the correct angle, and I couldn't do it. So that teacher recommended to my father that I change to being a right-handed writer when it came to a fountain pen. Dad's instant response was, "Not likely." That was wonderful. So I was allowed to do my best, as you would say. And thankfully, ballpoint pens were allowed to be used a few years later, in which case then I no longer had to use the hook. I could then go back to writing under and through my words. It still created problems, but I can still write comfortably with either technique. In year 8, in technical drawing, I had a very supportive teacher, but I had to actually make my own T-square to use because a left-handed T-square didn't exist. Throughout my high school years, the seating arrangements were a problem as well, but I soon worked out to sit on the left of a right-handed person. This is similar to what I was confronted with on my first day at university, the lecture theatre. Just about, in my lecture theatre, every desk was right-handed. They sat there with those angled desks purely for right-handed use. Total problem for a left-hander. If you have a quick look at this particular slide, you will notice though that there are 6 left-handed chairs there. Give you a moment just to have a quick look and see if you can identify them. And here they are. This lecture theatre actually accommodated some of the left-handed students. We can't see what's out on the other part of the outside of the field of the picture. But it's also interesting that they put all the left-handers right over on the side, away from everybody else. They've thought, I'm not going to make them bump elbows as they're writing, but is that necessarily also good or conducive to good learning? So why did I start my business selling left-handed products? Well, my youngest daughter, when she was 7 years old, wanted to feed the dog. And we have the tin of dog food down there, was doing tin food, but she couldn't use the can opener that night. And so we had an almighty tantrum. It was only then that I realized that not all left-handers can just deal with it. And some people struggle. So we found a can opener and we ordered it in by mail order. And we had a happy girl and a happy dog, of course, who was able to be fed, and she could do that all on her own. But out of that, we realized that there was very poor availability and support in Australia for left-handers. So my left-handed journey took a new turn. I picked up my first proper left-handed items when starting the business. The scissors I used, I'd been using right-handed scissors for the first 38 years of my life with good results. However, when I picked up a pair of left-handed scissors, it only took 5 minutes of practice to achieve the same results as in my right hand. Everything just felt more comfortable and workable and gave the same or better results. I hadn't realized how much I had compromised living in the right-handed world. So why is it difficult being a left-hander in a right-handed world? A couple of slides from earlier in the week. Our language, most languages, are skewed against the left-hander. It puts us down. It makes you feel inferior. It demoralizes. There are words, there are expressions, all of them giving that same effect, and all have a very strong right-handed bias. The big thing is that left-handedness is not a disability, but if we're not supported well, it can be disabling. That's a very different situation. It is not a handicap. We are not awkward. We might be doing things differently, but when we are equipped correctly, we can do things as well, if not better, than our right-handed compatriots. Left-handedness is natural and is normal. And this is the message that we are working through this week. The reason it is difficult is that most equipment and utensils are made for the majority, being the right-handers. Left-handers are unable to use them without modifying their techniques. And that usually results in poor results or even injuries. There was a paper in 1989 saying that there were 2,500 deaths per year of left-handers using right-handed equipment. However, once that was looked at a little more deeply, there was no backup to those claims. That same author a year later said that left-handers die 9 years earlier than right-handers. But that study was also shown to be flawed because of the methodology used to collect the data. Once they used a more recognized method of collecting data, they found that there was absolutely no difference between left-handed and right-handed longevity. I'm a registered nurse by profession. I've worked the last 15 years in emergency departments. And I don't have any specific data, but anecdotally, there's essentially no difference in the injury presentations between left-handers or right-handers. We all make mistakes. We all do stupid things. Rarely do people die from this. Some injuries do occur, and they're mainly repetitive strain injuries because we're doing things that are not natural to us to operate the item. And it's more of an inconvenience than a hassle. Let's have a look at some other ways where our lives are dominated by the right-hander. All greetings are around the right hand. So the salute, on Monday we learned that Julius Caesar invented the salute or created it. He was left-handed himself. And he created that so that way his opponent would show their left hand, would have it occupied, and it would be away from their sword or their knife. Yet he was prepared, while he had his right hand on, his dominant left hand was available to do whatever he needed to do. Nowadays, the salute shows that you a degree of openness and trust. The handshake, that evolved from the salute in non-military ways. The right hands are used as a symbol of friendliness and trust. But why is it we can't use the left hand? How can we make it natural between a right-hander and a left-hander greeting each other? Changing the salute will be really hard. This Philippine general was criticised quite horribly in the press about saluting with the left hand. Little did most of the readers know, and the journalists certainly didn't let them know, but his right forearm and hand don't work because he'd had multiple bullets go through that in the line of duty, and so that the lower part of his right arm didn't work. He refused to have it amputated because he still wanted to be able to serve. So the left hand salute is actually highly genuine from him, but no one understood that. The other one we saw is the left hand, sorry, the dual hand fist pump during COVID as a way of having minimal contact and maintaining our hygiene during COVID. But that didn't really last either. However, it was an ideal way of doing things for left and right together. There are many religious rituals revolving around the right. The Christians doing the sign of the cross and genuflecting, other religions doing offerings. All of these are drummed in that the right hand is the only way to do things. But isn't it more appropriate for a left-hander to do them with the left hand as being a more genuine offering? Other practices, including eating. So I'm fortunate to be raised in Australia. We use utensils to cook and eat, but large regions of the world eat with their hands, as we discussed previously. You know, it's essentially a survival skill. The right hand is for eating, the left hand is for toileting. But why can't this change now that eating and personal care methods have changed? Sanitation and access to water has also improved, but some practices have not. Why does this basic tenet then apply to everything else that a left-hander does? I've got so much more to learn in this journey. The cutlery, for those of us that are using that. Why is the fork on the left and the knife on the right? The information I've found so far is there's more conformity so that you're not bumping elbows at the table by using left and right arms for the knife. As well as that most people use their knife in the right hand when they're using a knife solo. But I have to say, I'm one who uses cutlery in the standard, I'll use inverted commas, right-handed format. And I like the idea of having full control of that pointy fork coming towards my face. I know what's going to happen. But talking about clean hands, have you noticed that the hot water tap is always on the left and the cold is on the right? Those left-handers here who are listening, have you noticed that you automatically reach for the hot tap first? The cold tap is on the right, which we use, but we use it more often. Now, it's not law for this to happen. It's actually an unwritten convention for safety reasons, but obviously for the right-handers. Clothing. Our clothing is different. You'll notice here we have the button-up tops on the lady and on the gentleman. So the buttons and zips on both clothings work in opposite directions. Men's clothing opens to the right, making it difficult for left-handers to do up the buttons or to use the zipper on their trousers. Women's clothing opens on the left. This became standard practice in Victorian times, when the ladies of class had a right-handed dresser and mass production manufacturing was emerging at the same time. But we don't seem to hear much complaint about this from the modern women, which is a very interesting phenomenon. We saw yesterday that our lady twisting around to be able to use the turnstiles at one of our local railway stations there. Swipe cards and keypad entries are usually positioned on the right side of the door, making it a challenge for the left-hander. Funny enough, they seem to always be positioned right on the edge of the garden as well, so you nearly fall in there when you twist around to use it properly as a left-hander. Writing is one of the most complex and fine motor skills a child will learn, and we learned on Monday about why it's more difficult for left-handers to write. Yet we make it even harder for a left-handed child to learn to write, with no specific training by teachers. And we learned yesterday from Tracy and Mark that left-handers can easily be taught to write comfortably and legibly. So why is there resistance? Especially when there is evidence to show that especially when there is evidence to show the impact that this has on all their other learning as well. Modern life brings modern problems for left-handers as well. ATMs always have a card slot at the right, and sometimes the keypad is on the right as well. If a left-hander uses it, we twist our body and we're exposing our information on the screen to the person standing behind us as we reach across to operate it. Otherwise, we make mistakes by trying to key everything with the wrong hand. FPOS machines in the shopping centre have the card swipe on the right side of the unit, making it a challenge for the left-handed person to use. Vending machines always have the operational section on the right. The smartphones, tablets, smartwatches and their apps are all geared for right-handers to use. The only one that's close is the Apple Watch, which I use, which can be configured to be worn on the right arm, but the function button is at the bottom and not at the top. It probably doesn't affect how it's used though, and it's a close win. I'll take it. Game controllers, computer mouses and keyboards are all configured for right-handed use. The current office fad of collaboration, hot desks and hubs means that left-handers can't just walk up to a computer workstation and be able to use it. We used to have our own workspace, a cubicle or an office, and therefore we could configure it for our own use. But with these hot desks and hubs, all computers are available to all people. The button location on the gaming equipment is also important to these gamers, I believe. I get told that one by the kids. The kitchen is one of the most challenging spaces for left-handers. Microwave ovens are only made with one direction, with the keypad on the right and the door opening towards the left. Even if you're right-handed, your cupboard layout might require you to have a right swinging door. I actually have over 30 customers on file who want a left-handed microwave oven. We wrote to the head office of 14 manufacturers about 10 years ago and received total silence in reply. If there's a manufacturer out there who wants to make an impact, be the first, make a left-handed microwave, and you'll have instant sales, not just by left-handed users. We also see stovetop dials need to be out of the road. So where do they put them? Over on the right. This can be a problem for the left-handed user, especially if it's gas jets. A few singed forearms in the past. A variety of cooking utensils are also a problem for left-handers. So we've actually been able to stock a wide range of utensils. These are the left-handed versions of a lot of items that people have difficulties with or challenges with. Power tools are a significant issue for left-handers. As we discussed in one of the post-presentation discussions yesterday, there are many that look okay, but the safety switch or a regulator are on the wrong side. A quick look at these pictures also shows why. The planer in the top left shoots out the shavings to the right. If a right-hander is using that, those shavings are going to go over and shower his work. He won't be able to see what he's doing. The drill in the top right has a safety switch on the other side for the right thumb, making it difficult for a left-hander to use. The bench drill in the lower left is controlled with the right hand. The angle grinder in the bottom right rotates so that the filings move away from the work area. While the control handle can rotate over for holding the right hand, the filings will aim toward the hand and the operator. The safety button is usually on top for this tool, which removes at least one problem. The circular saw in the middle is probably the most dangerous of all the hand tools. However, it's pleasing to see that left-handed versions are beginning to appear, even though they are not sold or labeled specifically as left-handed models. A quick search on YouTube shows that the one in the top left corner there is the right-handed version used by all right-handed operators. And I stumbled upon the one on the left there, at the bottom right, as a left-handed alternative that would allow for the same safe technique. The petrol lawnmowers and line trimmers all have the zip pull, the setup for a right-handed user. As a left-hander, I have to get creative, twist things around to be able to start them off. Ring binders and lever arch folders create a significant problem for the left-hander. The clips and rings don't allow for the writer to actually get close to the margin. In this instance, you would lose half your page because you can't reach with the pencil. The chained pen at the post office or the bank is always fixed to the right top corner of the mat. For a left-hander, that means the chain usually then falls across the space when you're reading or writing. Checkbooks are disappearing, thank goodness, from use, and it's anticipated they'll disappear totally in a few more years. Ledger books, invoice books, receipt books are also disappearing from use with the increase in mobile technologies. All of these become more of a problem for the left-hander the further you go into the book. Cameras are still designed for right-handed use. Many now have the viewfinder in the middle, so it's good for left or right eye dominant users. But the buttons and controls are still oriented for the right-hander. The handle shaping of the body camera is also for the right-hander. But as we identified yesterday, phone cameras are so good now that they're often a very suitable alternative and much easier to carry around. Driving on the right side of the road, we has mixed blessings. All the radio and other controls are on our preferred side. Fantastic. Manual gear changes are easily managed with the left hand, as is the clutch with the left foot. Fantastic. However, toll booths can be hard to get the aim correct with the right-handed coin toss, especially if you're out of reach, as opposed to the guy in the bottom left corner there. Although some countries like Australia have gone cashless, so we don't actually have that little issue anymore. Thank you very much. Boom gates where you pay on exit can also be a challenge, especially if you have to use a keypad. Crafts such as crochet, knitting, embroidery and macrame, all traditionally done with a right-handed technique. Teaching a left-hander to do any of these or to follow a pattern is a challenge for the brave. My mother tried with me, failed, and she was very good at it. But there are a number of self-help instruction books available to left-handers where they can learn these crafts. Left-handers have an advantage in most combative sports, those where you face up to your opponent. We learned in a video yesterday that left-handed bowlers, pitchers and throwers have an advantage because they deliver the ball at a different angle to right-handers. This can unsettle any batter as they have usually trained against right-handed ball throwers. Left-handed batters have an advantage because they force the bowler to change their direction slightly. It's also interesting to note is the graph down the bottom here of the proportion of handedness in the game. This is the game of cricket. So RA is for a right arm bowler. RH is for a right hand batter. So there are a very high proportion there of right and right. Some of right arm bowling, some who are also left hand batters. An even smaller proportion over on the far right who are left arm bowlers and right hand batters. And in the middle there are the left arm bowlers and left arm batters. The lefties do have that competitive advantage. You can imagine that if you're at team training, you have all these right-handed people lining up to bowl towards you, very few left-handed, so they won't get practice. That left-handedness is a fantastic weapon. It's all about angles, irrespective of the sport. There's also an Australian study, though, that showed that left-handers were able to think quicker when playing sports and computer games. As I mentioned earlier in this presentation, this viewpoint is from the part of the world where left-handedness is tolerated. I'm keen to learn in presentations to follow today some of the deeper issues that left-handers face in parts of the world where left-handedness is not accepted. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, for your presentation. I have to appreciate you because this an evidence-based presentation. The world is looking for evidence. They want you to give them evidence that the world is people, and they want us to come up with evidence, practical things that they can see. I think this is a wonderful presentation. It's evidence enough to tell the world that from all facets, the right-handers are being dominated, you know. So thank you so much. I want to ask if there's any comment because of our time, question briefly before we invite the next presenter. Thank you. If not, we would like to invite Dr. Ernest Ochan for his presentation. Dr. Chan, are you with us?
Yes. Good
Dr.
morning.
Chan?
I'm here, yes. Can you hear me?
Right. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. Huh? Yes, you see how people are shy. They just appear quickly. I think
Good morning, everybody. Good morning from Nigeria. It's 11:46 here. I guess you can all hear me.
You know we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we can hear you.
I'm so glad to be here. For me, it's been a great learning opportunity. My name is Ernest Ochan. First of all, I'm a clinical microbiologist and then later a public health physician. And I work for the United Nations High Commission for Refugees in Nigeria as the public health officer here. I am right-handed, and so far I cannot remember anybody in my family or my wife's family that is left-handed. But somehow, I have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl who is 3. My daughter just happened to be left-handed. This is my daughter here. Her name is Samakita. Samakita means thank you, Lord, in my language in Boki in Nigeria. And she's at least about 5 years younger than my other children, my last boy. So, like I said, we never had anybody that is left-handed in my family. Just then, the teachers in the school, when she started school, called my wife, that they realized that she's writing with her left hand. And then they were asking if they should correct the handedness. So it was a surprise to us. But we have noticed that most times you want to give her something, she collects with the left. And if you give her with the right, she just changes it to the left hand. So it was more like a situation, oh, now I have a left-handed child. I need to learn more about left-handedness. I need to be able to understand what to do. And the teachers in the school were asking if they should correct the handedness. And I said, no, we're going to look into it and see what to do. So that is my left hand story. So I will say I'm a right-handed person talking about living with left-handedness because I have to grow up a child that is left-handed. So I've been listening to most of the presentation and they have been quite useful, particularly Mark's presentation, which I asked that it should be shared because I would really, really want to share with my child's school. She's lucky that she's in a highbrow school with just about 10 children in the entire class. So, but sometimes I begin to wonder what will happen to other children that are less fortunate from more populated schools, particularly the public schools.
Mr. Sunday, I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but the presenter is not audible on my side and the slides are not moving in.
Okay. Dr. Chan?
Yes.
Can you make yourself audible? Hello?
But can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
But your slides are not moving. It's only one slide there. Are you having any other slides?
Yeah, my slides are moving from my end.
But it's not moving on our screen.
No, we haven't. We are only seeing the first one.
We are only seeing the
okay. Let me
first
see.
one.
Mr. Sunday, I would encourage that the presentation continues even when we don't necessarily see the slides, as long as it's audible. Or now we're able to see them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We can see another slide, but if you find difficult, we don't mind if you proceed with your, because of Dr. Chan?
Yes.
Dr. Chan?
I can hear you, Sonny.
Even if we cannot see this, even if we cannot see the slide, we don't mind you proceed with your presentation.
Okay. Let me opt out. Just give me a second. Let me try it again and see if it will show.
Thank you. We're able to see the slide. Next slide. Thank you.
Slides. Please just go ahead and continue. You can share the slides with us after the presentation.
Okay. So I guess you can hear me now. What I was saying was that
okay,
that I am right-handed, and I can't remember anybody in my family or my wife's family that is left-handed. But just when my child was about to, she started school, and the school called us that most times she picks a pencil with her left hand and wants to write with her left hand. One thing we noticed before she started school was that if you give her something on her right hand, she changes to her left. So we thought it was just one of those things about growing up. So my wife called me that this is what the teachers have said if they should correct it. I asked her to take a picture of how you drop the pencils on the bed and let her pick the pencils to write. And that was when she shot this picture, the beautiful picture of my daughter, which was used partly in this
Again,
program.
we are seeing the only first slide, nothing else.
it's fine.
Dr. B-Pen, we are saying that, Dr. B-Pen, we are saying that it's fine as long as we could have the presenter continuing, because otherwise it would delay the process. Let him speak through the slides, even if you are not able to see them.
I understand, no problem.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Bimpy.
Yeah, the slides are moving at my end, so I don't know why they are not moving at the other end.
Don't mind, don't worry, continue.
Okay. So for us, it was a big challenge to see what we can do for this child. Being a clinician myself, I knew I couldn't start changing because I have information about what will happen to this child if we decide to change the hand. Just like you can see my slide, my daughter likes music. There is a slide which is on there, which she was holding a toy on her left hand and miming. Now, so at every point in time, she picks a microphone with her left hand and sings along with it. So now for me, it was more important that I begin to learn about living with left-handedness, because I am not left-handed. My wife is not, nobody in our family is, but now we have a daughter who is left-handed. Now in listening to this presentation so far, right from 2 days ago and up till today, it was when I saw something about maybe subtle brain damage due to exposure to ultrasound, I started thinking, could this be the cause of this left-handed in this child? Because if you compare that with my two boys, of which one is 10 and one is 7, this girl had at least 2 ultrasound scans more than the boys. Because of the circumstances of her conception, we were not sure of the date, so she had at least 2 or 3 more ultrasounds than the boys, who had their normal ultrasound at week 16 and at week 38 and never had any ultrasound. They had 2 ultrasounds. But for her, my wife had at least 4 or 5 ultrasounds. So that is the only thing maybe we can begin to point our hands at, except maybe for other natural reasons. But however, now we have her, we cannot correct it, or I don't want it to be corrected, because as a clinician looking at the effects of correcting this handedness. But the challenges of left-handedness have been historical. For native French speakers who are here, if you look at the language and historical perspective of left-handedness, if you say, I don't know if I'm getting it correctly, but gauche or sinistrum in Latin means sinister. We all know what the word sinister means, and that is what no longer left.
Gauche, it is gauche.
Oh, gauche.
Yeah.
Meaning clumsy or awkward.
Yes.
Now we have adroit, which is right, and adroit. Now we have dexterous, which we use general English, dexterity. He writes with dexterity. He is skillful. So everything right is good. And then we also have right wing or leftist ideology. Leftist ideology means ideology that are not in conformity with society. So it's this issues with left-handedness had come down from right from history. But I'm so glad that it is at this point that we are beginning to put them in perspective, particularly in Nigeria, that people we are beginning to think about it, to see what we can do to let people know about what they are. Now, some of these perspectives on the challenges of left-handedness have been shared here, so I don't wish to go reiterating them. But in Nigeria, particularly, Nigeria has a diverse socioeconomic, sociocultural ethnicities. But one thing is common across all the cultures. None of the cultures in Nigeria, we have over 100 plus different cultures. None of them accepts receiving an item from the left with the left hand. And then when I started reading about left-handedness, gleaning the internet, I came across this book on the prevention and correction of left-handedness by J.W. Conway, The Prevention and Correction of Left-handedness in Children. It's an American book with a stamp of the Library of Congress. So that means even in the United States, people have thought about correcting left-handedness, preventing left-handedness as if it is a disability. So basically, from what we have heard today, so far, since this program started, we have heard of sociocultural challenges. We've heard of industrial challenges where we don't have tools for left-handers. Then the education system is where, particularly in Nigeria, where we really have to begin to address. Because from what have been presented, and even the last presenter, in the classroom he presented, they had tables that were left-handed. But I don't remember in my secondary school or in my university where we use those type of tables that we ever had a left-handed table. And then one area we have not discussed, which I want to talk more about, is the medical profession and even in the humanitarian setting. Now, socioculturally, I gleaned through a story from Naira Land. There was a trend in Naira Land, which is a social media blog in Nigeria, where people were talking about left-handedness. And it was very interesting. Those were for and against. And I found one very interesting, and he said, it is very annoying. I am a lefty wannabe. When I had a surgery on my right wrist, one silly cab driver refused to take his money from my left hand. And I deliberately did not want to show him my other hand. I deliberately did not want to show him my other hand was not available. When he found out from other passengers, Duke said I should drop it on the seat for him. And if it is, then the lady now said, and if it is because of wiping the backside with the left hand, all those that have received from my right hand should start washing their right hand with acid, because it is the right hand I used in the toilet. So there were concepts, or I mean, different arguments. Oh, I don't collect this from the left hand because many people use the left hand to wash their backside when they go to toilets. In Nigeria, there are communities, particularly in the north, that they use water to wash. Unlike maybe the down south of Nigeria, where you can use toilet paper, but most people in the north of Nigeria use their left hand to wash in the toilet. So there was that argument about, oh, because the left hand is dirty, use it to wash. But people who use toilet paper will use their right hand. But traditionally, bringing up children, it is thought to be disrespectful for a child to collect an item from the left. So if you collect an item to the left, your father is going to give you a very big knock when we were growing up. So those are various issues these children have to deal with. And for me, as a father of a left hand, and my wife, we have to start planning on how to educate people, because naturally, if you give her money or anything, she's going to collect with her left hand. So most parents have to keep answering those questions. Oh, don't worry, she's left-handed. Some parents, some other people, oh, she's very disrespectful. If you are not there to explain on behalf of your child. Now, in the education sector in Nigeria, one area we are really we are having issues is left-handed teachers. For my child, for instance, she is in the nursery section. Her class teacher is right-handed. But she was lucky because the head of the nursery section has a child that is left-handed. So most times she goes to meet this other lady to come and show my daughter how to write, because she's learning how to write 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. And then there will be smudges up and down the paper. So this other woman, whenever they want to write, she has to come and leave her job now and come and teach my child specifically. She is lucky, like I said, she's in a highbrow school. Other children in public schools may not be that lucky. And we have a dearth of left-handed teachers. Like I said earlier, for the chairs, high school chairs, and maybe in the university, most of them are not left-handed, are right-handed. So this is one area where we also may have to start talking to education authorities to make sure that when they are doing these chairs, they have to put left-handed chairs for the left-handed people. The seating arrangement have been said here, where you position a left-handed person with a right-handed person. And people who are going to teach the children how to write from the left hand to the right hand, because otherwise most of the children are writing from the right to the left, like as if they are writing Arabic. Now, in the humanitarian setting where I work, we have what we call register of specific needs. Specific needs, if you could see my video, there's a picture of me here with a child with albinism. Whenever we have a humanitarian emergency, after intervening generally, providing shelter, providing food, we start identifying people with specific needs. Most times we are going to look at children with albinism, children with disability, the elderly, and we take care of their needs. But once the children start going to school, because in the UNHCR, we ensure that every child of school age should go to school. Nothing about children who are left-handed. I tried to invite the UNHCR education officer to join this meeting, but she's in the field, and she said she would have really loved to join, but she would look at some of the presentations that have been done to see how she can help the schools where we have refugees attending schools. So because we do not, we think they are just a minute group. 10% of the population looks quite small, but in humanitarian setting, we say even if it is one person that we save, we would have achieved a lot. But being left-handed, it is not classified as a specific need, which is one thing I'm even going to push at the UNHCR setting with what of the knowledge we have now to make sure that left-handedness for school-age children is included as a specific need for children who are left-handed. So if it is then the register, once you are responding and you want to put the children in school, you need to also identify how many of those children, refugee or internally displaced children, are left-handed. So you begin to program for left-handedness. If you want to make school tables, you need to program for them and prepare for, okay, maybe this 10% of the total number of tables or chairs will be for people who are left-handed. I saw what Mark presented, some of those devices. I really want to have some samples of them. I don't think, except Sonny will guide for that, if we have them available here, maybe in most of the shops in Nigeria. Because we need to also, as we are programming for left-handed children in humanitarian setting, we need to include that to be procured as part of the book packs. Because in refugee settings, we provide book packs for children, backpacks for children that contains all the things they need to go to school. So we need to also include that 10%, but we do not. And one of the key points in the UNHCR emergency handbook is that not all persons with specific needs are visible. So left-handedness is one of those specific needs that is not visible, and which we really have to actively identify and then consult with the parents and then be able to involve them in the planning. But right now, it is not there at all because I've gleaned through all the documents of UNSC, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, no mention of left-handedness as one of those groups, minority groups that we need to address. Now, in medical practice, I go back to my medical school days when it was the first training you receive in your clinical days is that, oh, you need to examine a patient, you must stand on the right side. It was like the dogma of their first day in clinical practice. So if you are left-handed, that begins to sink in you. Well, it's just days later or years later into your training that they say, okay, if you are left-handed, you can go to the left side. But if you go in to examine a patient and you move to the left side, you are likely to fail the exam if you do not tell the examiner ab initio that you are left-handed. Or you have an experienced examiner who asks you, are you left-handed? And then, or gives you paper to write something and he sees you picking your left, and then he will assess you as a left-handed person. Because with the left hand being a dominant hand, if you move to the right, I've seen a situation where a student I was examining used his left hand to start, but he was standing on the right. It's subconscious. Because before I came to work for the United Nations, I was a medical educator for at least 5 years in the teaching hospital, and I examined several students before I got here. So left hand, because of that dogma of standing on the right, most medical students, even if they are left-handed, will naturally want to go to the right to stand. But their dominant hand moves first and they go down, then they remember, and then they change their hand to use their less dominant hand. Now, I ran through a paper from by one Roper in 1999, published in BMJ, and he called it Time for a Sinister Practice. And then he made a cursory look at some of the trainings and said, we doctors have been enforcing this stigma on left-handedness by what we teach. And then even in the operation theater, we are taught that if you are the lead surgeon, you have to stand on the right. So even if you are left-handed, you go stand on the right and it becomes awkward for you. And in the theater, when we pack surgical packs for surgery, I'm not sure I've ever seen the left-handed scissors. From what I saw in Mark's presentation about left-handed scissors. So these are some of the areas that we need to start identifying left-handed surgeons. And then you see how when you are packing, at least there should be a pack that should have right-handed scissors and left-handed scissors. It comes with an additional cost or maybe a few challenges, but with communication and information, I think it's something we can do. Because left-handed instruments, most of the packs for surgical interventions are all right-handed scissors that are packed there. So it still provides a challenge for left-handed people. So if my daughter wants to study medicine, which, well, my wife encourages and really wants her to be a doctor, that is one area we really have to deal with. Now, there was this study by Sabawal in 2020 among orthopedic surgeons and trainees in the United States. And they found that 15% of orthopedic surgeons were left-handed. But unfortunately, there was no deliberate mentorship of left-handed surgical techniques. And then they saw that there were even more qualified surgeons, fellows, who were left-handed than residents. But there was no matching. When you are matching residents who are left-handed, they can be matched to right-handed surgeons. And then they had advocated that left-handed residents should be matched with left-handed surgeons to mentor them. So it becomes easier for them to perform their surgeries. So I think those are some of also the gaps of left-handedness, particularly when it comes to medical practice. And so the question now is to correct or not to correct. Well, it's well documented and it's so much in the literature about forcing children to switch. Papers have argued that, particularly psychologists, that it affects their emotions, learning ability, it affects their self-control and affects their memory. I used to have a friend who, when I was discussing about this way back about left-handedness, they had a child who was left-handed. And I told him, I said, look, it's going to cause your child to stammer. He then now remembered that he had a father who was a soldier and he was left-handed. So the father would stand with a cane and say he must use the right hand to eat. And he'll be using the right hand to eat and be crying. And then along the line, he started stammering. And then his father would flog him and say, oh, you are pretending, now you are stammering. So this was 15 years after I met him. I was telling him, no, they corrected you from left hand to right hand, and that is why you had that stammering. Even now he still stammers, but it's not as bad. He said it used to be worse, but as he grew older, it became less obvious. So he was able to manage that mannerism. Now, there was this study by Sepner, published in the Journal of Neuroscience in 2002, where they looked at the long-term effects and consequences of switching handedness using a positron emission tomographic study. So they looked at people with right-handedness and people who were converted left-handedness. They were left-handed, but they were converted to writing with the right hand, because it was a German study, and that in those days in Germany, it was compulsory that if you are left-handed, you must convert to right-handedness. It's just recently, according to the paper, that policy had stopped. I'm sure they have been educated by people like you gentlemen and ladies here who have been pushing this hard. So they saw that most of those that had that left-handedness, the corrected left-handedness, still maintained the brain function at the right hemisphere, unlike the right, because naturally, because of the decussation, right-handedness is controlled by the left hemisphere. So there's this lateralization of handedness. But those who corrected and started using left-handedness, I mean natural left-handedness who converted to right-handedness in writing, maintained their activities for all other functions with left-handedness. And then the part of the brain that shows real activation when they were writing with the right hand was still the left hand. So that means they corrected the hand physically, but the brain part, the brain function did not change. And so maybe possibly because of interaction between the Broca speech area and the Wernicke area causes this abnormality in speeches when you try to convert. One thing I noticed with my child, his brothers, his older brother who is 10 now, worked at 11 years. His immediate elder brother who is 7, 11 months. Yes, 11 months. He worked at 10 months, sorry. His elder brother is, the younger brother worked at 11 months, but she only worked at about 14 months. So it was a real worry for us. And then we looked at it, we say, well, part of the issue could be the handedness. And then even speech. The brothers could speak at least legibly. I mean, you could hear reasonably at 2 years, but she is 3. She was 3 last month. She had delayed speech. So which we had to also consult a pediatrician who has experience with left-handedness and the neuro pediatrician, and said, yes, it's part of the handedness that is causing that delayed speech. And possibly they may have tried even correcting it at school, which we had to go to the school to tell them not to try to correct it. They should put the pencils and allow her to pick with the hand she wants. So parents who have children with, I don't know what are the experiences of other colleagues here who have children with handedness, with left-handedness. It's something we noticed in the child. And at 3, he has another friend who is also 3, that they are growing up together in the same neighborhood. That one can speak, you can hear more clearly. But she is still what we call a polaliac, blah, blah, blah. And some few words agreed comes out very clearly. But she did not achieve speech development in similar way as his elder brothers, her elder brothers did achieve. So in countries like maybe in South Africa and in India where you've been ahead and creating awareness, creating laws to support handedness will be very feasible. In Nigeria, we are in fancy. For me, I think what we still need to do now is to create more awareness on handedness, maybe focusing on talking to the schools and the school authorities, and creating interaction between neuropediatricians and the school authorities to be able to understand some of the challenges of these children with left-handedness, being able to have the tools to enable them to write better, being able to understand that the effects of trying to correct that handedness. So for now in Nigeria, what if you ask me, what I would suggest is massive awareness creation. Because if you go to Naira Land that I mentioned and see the comments for and against, you could hear people like say, one of them wrote, if you speak in Nigerian pidgin, they born you well to give me something with left hand. That means, were you properly born by your mother? For you, in pidgin English in Nigeria, it's like, it should never be done that you give me something with your right hand. And then one lady now said, my children know better that they should never try collecting something with their left hand. So it makes me feel that there's a lot of ignorance still out there, which we are in the right step in the right direction, but a lot of work still need to be done to be able to improve, to create more awareness on the uniqueness of left-handed people. And sometimes when I need to talk to people, like I was given an opportunity to talk to some children about left-handed in my children's school, two key people that I always put to them who are great people. Barack Obama is left-handed. Bill Clinton is left-handed. And I think Bill Gates is also left-handed. So you have three great men, all of them are left-handed. So I do ask them if left-handedness is going to limit their achievement in life and whatever they want to achieve. And in the last time I was there in my children's school to talk to them, I asked them, I said, who doesn't want to be like Bill Gates or Bill Clinton or Barack Obama? So if you are left-handed, that means you are lucky. Thank you very much. I end it here.
Yeah, Ernest, thank you for your presentation. That's a nice one. Thank you for participating in this inaugural conference. Now we want to thank you for your experience, sharing your experience as a father of left-hander, your recommendation to us. You shouldn't be surprised that none of your family, the threat has not been in your family. I think I want to let you know that that is how Mark Stewart started his own project by having a child that is left-hander amongst others. So we want to thank you and listen to comment and questions if possible. Thank you so much. Any question?
Mr. Sunday, there's a hand up from Mr. Steve. Kindly recognize him.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ocheng. That was a fantastic talk. Thank you. A couple of comments, if I may. You're concerned that your daughter underwent a number of additional ultrasound scans that may contribute to her handedness. I'm not aware of any evidence to suggest that that has an effect on the handedness of the child. Remember in 2019, there was a paper about where they identified 41 genetic loci for left-handedness and an additional 7 for ambidexterity. That in itself does not predict handedness. Handedness is very difficult to predict. It's not something like you can predict the color of their eyes or the color of their hairs by what the genetic history of the parents. Handedness relies on a number of those genetic focal points lining up and becoming the dominant factor to influence the behavior. And there's also some familial and environmental influences. I'm not aware of anything on ultrasound, but so my recommendation, and also as the parent of a left-hander, it is what it is. You also mentioned briefly a book on correction of left-handedness. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a book that's coming close to nearly 100 years old. If anyone is still using that one as a a manual of teaching or a manual of behaviour, I'd be very concerned. But your story on the medical industry and the way that they perform is very common. I see that through all the medical exams here in Australia as well, where approach from the right every time, and if you dare do something different, you better have a good explanation for it. Is pretty much the approach. But thank you for that presentation. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the book I presented was more like the historical, when I was discussing the historical basis, and that was what used to be before you got here. But in Nigeria, it looks like we are still at that stage. Sonny will agree with me, because most families still want to correct that handedness. About the ultrasound, yeah, it was new to me too. I think Mark, if I'm not mistaken, it was a presentation that mentioned something, but I've not seen any anecdotal evidence about that. I'm also going to go more into, well, having a left-handed child had thrown me into reading more about left-handedness, and he mentioned that in one of his slides as one of those suspected causes, but I don't know if there is any.
Can I respond to that?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Can I respond to that, please?
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Sunday, Dr. Mark, thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, thank you, folks. Yes, just to say that bit about the ultrasound scans, we saw, I think it was the Guardian newspaper. I'm not a medical expert by any means, or at all, but it was interesting that my wife had scans with both our sons. Whether that actually affected our left-handed one, Robert, I don't know, but it was an interesting thought. I have put a bit on the chat for you, Dr. Chang, and about my left-handed son and his issues with speech. And it was quite interesting to note there was quite a variation between when he started speaking and our eldest son, and also with reading as well. And in the beginning, he would sort of almost grunt to my eldest son, who would somehow understand what he wanted. Maybe that was a case of laziness. I don't know. But when he did start speaking, his speech was much slower than one might expect. And it took quite a bit of patience from us to let him speak out his sentence. We wanted to sort of add the word in for him. But he did get out of that fairly quickly. And the other thing, his reading, he is dominantly left-sided, and what he used to do, we could tell this quite early. Once we'd read a book to him, if we were reading it again, it was like that he was looking at the end of the word first rather than the beginning, which was natural for him because he was scanning, his eyes were scanning right to left. And he was almost trying to remember furiously what we'd read before. So he wasn't actually reading it. But one of the ways we found that we used was actually us using the finger and also him using his left finger. So as you went from one word to the next, you moved the finger along to one word and did it that way. He didn't read books particularly. I mean, my eldest son was a voracious reader, but once he did start reading, then he was away, no problem at all. And I guess that was probably about when he was 8. So yeah, just hopefully that may help you and give you some understanding. If you want to discuss any further, be very happy to do that. So hopefully that will help. And thank you for your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. I'm really sure going to get to you, and maybe also have a link with you with my child's school. They are very open. The principal is a Briton, and I'm sure he will be quite happy to link up with you. It may help other children in the school who are also left-handed. I will sure get back to you on that. But one thing I will say is that she has an excellent memory, even more than the brothers. Her memory is wonderful. And I was sharing a video of her miming the girl on fire, but unfortunately my slides were not showing because she likes music. So which also supports what people are saying about the artistic habits of those who are left-handed. So we are seeing all those things. Left-handedness is written all over her. So that being a first, will really do with a lot of support that we can get from anybody, and so she doesn't pass through some of the challenges that are common in our environment. For the socio-cultural issues, well, we will have to deal with them. We don't have a choice. So that is it. Thank you.
Yes, our youngest son was very artistic, creative. Age 3 or 4 did a drawing that had perspective in it. And frankly, I struggled to draw matchstick men. So, and he was into music as well. And it was interesting that in Steve's presentation, I think it was his with the guitar. I mentioned at one point yesterday or the day before about Robert who started playing the violin, and he played it in the right-handed way, and it's one of those double-handed activities where I think if you look a little bit closer at them, I don't think the terminology is always correct. So you know, whether he was using his left hand, his dominant hand for doing the fingering, but was struggle with the bowing, then decided to use the guitar the other way around, and the feeding with a knife and fork. You know, right-handers are made to change round. Right-handers actually have to try and get the food to their mouth with their left hand. So why is it called eating in the right-handed way? It's odd. So, but there you go.
Sorry, Sunday, we cannot hear.
Presentation is frozen. I don't know if it is only on my side.
Okay, for that, I said it's a continental issue. So we'll look at. I want to assure Dr. Chan that we'll see how we can reach out to manufacturers of left-handed tools to see how we can make it available to schools. If you listen to my welcome address, I emphasize that we'll see how we can access a fund globally so that we're available to children like other or international organization that deals with children. So because by the time we start making it available to them, they will know the important and the different, because with the culture, when you are demanding for something, they think you are making an child. So I want to thank Dr. Chan. We'll look into that and the socio-cultural aspect of it, and also to encourage children to identify talent, because they are talented children in singing and all that. We have known that their own hemisphere is in favor of fast word formation. The left-handers have that advantage of fast word formation. That is why you see them always singing. So thank you so much. I want to listen to, I think that's the last presenter we have for today. We'll now look at, before we call it a day, we'll now look at what we have here in the next agenda is delegate participation. So that for now, that is the last this thing. I don't know. I want to make it the floor open for any further contribution before we come. We'll close for the day. But by the way, I want to apologize once again for the technical challenges that we face over here. And I'm sure by tomorrow we should be able to put it into order. So sorry for that.
Mr.
Hello?
Sunday, whilst we are also waiting for contributions or comments or input, may we, because every day we might be having different participants, as we close, may we just ask that everyone open their camera so that then we're able to capture the faces of those who participated on a daily basis. Thank you so much. But from me, I really would want to appreciate the inputs and the contributions that have been made. And I'm realizing that today, there've also been a reinforcement that speaks for children and about children. And I believe that that's one area that we also need to continually reinforce in every space of advocacy, awareness creation, but strengthening. And also there was a combination of children, parents, interactions in relation to today's presentations, which also made a valuable contribution for us to also uplift and to strengthen and to empower the families, especially of those who are taking care of
Just a comment from my side. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I also wanted to just, share a few words of appreciation for today's session, which is a continuation of our program from the 7th. And, the one thing that being a right-handed person like Dr. Ochang, and, the type of empathy that parents, show when their kids are affected, and the fact that when we get this type of presentations, which previously we didn't have, we never shared in platforms like this, we are able to get both the scientific but also the practical challenges. Dr. Ochang, although he's a doctor, medical doctor, he was presented with a situation that he couldn't deal with and had to interact with teachers to try and find the solutions. The school itself didn't know how to handle it, and so on. So when you put together all the presentations from yesterday, from Monday to today, we are beginning to almost formulate a body of knowledge that will be able to assist us in doing that, in providing support. I see BPEN, I've got it right this time, will also be hosting a colloquium, on the 13th, which speaks to parents and teachers and so on. And the last point is really about the solidarity message that we are getting to, that we got from the World Women Leading Change, with almost 12 million subscribers who are mostly women and who are nurturers. And I think we should try, as part of our strategy, and I know we spoke about it yesterday, to identify critical stakeholders who are parents mostly, and who are mothers and who are fathers, who also provide, who are guardians to these children, to make sure that we don't lose on the invitation for partnership. From Botswana, we had Keleto, saying, as a person who's been trained in this environment, she's a counselor and psychologist. She was not aware of some of these issues, and also the president, Dr. Ayla, and Princess. Those are very, very powerful partnerships when mothers and parents are involved directly. And it lessens the burden on the state, because sometimes we think it is government who must step in, but it is the citizens who must step in, parents and communities who will bring the change and so on. So thanks so much. And we do understand the digital divide. Sometimes we lost the two twins because they were in a remote area, and their story was very important for us to hear. And I hope that tomorrow we could find a space where I'm sure they've got a very important story to share with us. If we could either tomorrow move them to a place where there is better connectivity, or even on Friday, because it is very, very important for us to hear their story as well. Samkita is very young. She's 3 years. By 2063, when we achieve the Africa we want, she'll be 40, and we hope that she'll also be able to share as she grows her journey, her experience, the barriers that she does, and so on. So thanks so much. I'm sure we can take that selfie, or is it a picture that we want to Tony proposed that we should show our face. Steve, today it's me who's wearing the pajamas, so that's why you haven't seen my face that much. Thank you. So we can do that. Over to you, Sunday, for your closing remarks.
Okay. Before we take the okay, Dr. Emmanuel Odu, thank you. You have been with us from the first. I want to thank everybody for participating from the first day, especially the first 2 days. I know it has not been easy being the first time. So I want to appreciate all our participants, all our guests, and the well-wishers, parents of left-handers, the left-handed children that come to that join us. So thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we are trusting that as you go home, you help us share the good news that we have started something important, something serious to help our children who are left-handers. And I want to also plead to Dr. Chan from his statement that as he has promised to draw the attention of UNCHR. So Dr. Chan, thank you for that privilege to have you in our midst. And I also want to thank all representatives from every continent. And my deep appreciation goes to Segemotu and all his members from South Africa. People have been so wonderful for encouraging us to continue. So thank you so much, and we hope to see you tomorrow.
Thank you, and bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Oh, thank you. But okay.
Yeah. Hey, at least it's a shorter program, eh? Aston. Yeah, we were saying by the fact that it's more of a 3-hour session. I mean, look how we pulled